Okay, so I think this person is referencing when I personally said that in the NBA history, Kyrie Irving is, in my opinion, top 5 one-on-one isolation basketball. One of the best scorers in the game has ever seen.
That was it.
And I'll die on that hill any day. Anybody you want to bring that's better than Kyrie Irving one-on-one to get a bucket, I want to see your top 5, please.
Well, Coach Scott, real quick. So now that you remind me, let me bring some context now that I remember to why he stated this comment. So because you said Kyrie is top 5 greatest point guards, one-on-one players ever, the point he's making is, okay, we can all agree on that, but yet when he plays with LeBron, all of a sudden LeBron has no help. He's a minimum player, all right? Mm-hmm. LeBron doesn't have any help. So to say Kyrie is top 5 great in any category, then when he plays with LeBron, then to say LeBron has no help minimizes Kyrie, and we make him a minimum player. Thank you. That brought the context back to what the comment was about.
Let's go. Even though I killed the ghost, there's still room to debate. And every sport is on the clock, who being late with the grade. If you hungry for the smoke, then come and get you a plate. We just evaluate the game and we don't deal with the hate. Come tune into the show, cause we about to get into it.
Every sport has a goal,
but now it's time to prove it. Barbershop vibe saying what other shows couldn't. With a buyer Coach Scott, yeah, it's gonna be a good one. This ain't for the faint of heart. Tiger, Jordan, Messi or Babe Ruth, Brady, Serena, and Ali catch phase 2. Get your facts ready and no Wikipedia, cause ain't no off season, he don't go debate media. Go debate media. Let's go.
Welcome back to another episode of Go Debate Media. Y'all see who it is, Coach J.O. and Coach Scott. We got another episode for you. A good one this time. Now we got J.J. Redick, fellas, appearing or seeming to me like he's blaming the Lakers. Most people want to blame LeBron. Some people want to blame J.J., but not J.J. starting to blame the Lakers, but he did so in a very subtle manner, Coach J.O. What are your thoughts on what J.J. Redick is now saying about his own team? Let's listen to this clip real quick.
What's your post-game message after a tough loss like that and kind of on top of some other recent tough losses?
To you or to the team? There has to be some ownership. And I think when a group is not performing well, which happens, and it happens to bad teams, it happens to good teams, it happens to great teams, you can splinter, and it's easy to not want the ownership, particularly when it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. We're all embarrassed. It's not a game that I thought we had the right fight, the right professionalism. Not sure what was lost in translation. There has to be some ownership on the court, and I'll take all the ownership in the world. This is my team, and I lead it, and I'm embarrassed, but I can't physically get us organized. I can't physically be into the basketball. I can't physically talk and call out reds and physically call out coverages, and it's, I'm not, and by the way, I'm not blaming players. That's not, I own this. But going to need some ownership on the court as well. It's there's not a sense from me that we're together right now, and that's what we say in the huddle. It doesn't feel that way.
Coach J.O., am I missing it? I could be wrong. I don't have a problem with being corrected if I'm wrong. Was JJ trying to throw the blame a little bit on the Lakers? And, although he said I take some on my own chin as well. What do you think?
Let me preface my comments by saying I think JJ has actually been doing a good job this year, right? But I also believe Darvin Ham was doing a good job last year. All right. But that didn't dissolve him from blame at all. And yes, JJ is pointing the fingers, right? Because it's different now. When you're on your podcast and you sipping your wine with LeBron James and you coming up with all these strategies, and it looks so easy. You can point fingers, you can blame, you could talk about Doc Rivers and talk about how many excuses he makes. You could talk about and undermine Darvin Ham's ability to coach. Come on now, because that's what he was doing.
It's different when you minding the game on a podcast and you're actually in the heat, right? But go ahead, you got it.
Hey, it's different. Okay. And I know JJ wants to think he's this, super philosophical NBA guy. And he is a smart guy. But what he has to understand is basketball and coaching is more than just X's and O's, JJ. You have to earn respect and even demand respect out of your locker room. You have to do that. And they looking at you, dog. And to me, they don't respect you like that. They really don't. All right, LeBron is your buddy. But AD, it was reported that he didn't even want you. It was reported AD didn't want you. Okay? So yes, the blame is on JJ right now. The blame is on JJ. Because you know why? He pointed the fingers at Darvin Ham. He pointed the fingers at these other coaches. So now you got to deal with it. You do. You have to deal with it. You're the leader of this team.
I agree with you. The blame is on JJ. But do you think JJ is trying to put the blame subtly on the team?
Of course he is. That's the only way. That's the only thing he can do. But this is the issue, though, right? Over the last 5 years and what we talk about, and this is the problem that I have with the Coach Scotts of the world. We come in each year. The Lakers gonna do this. The Lakers gonna do that. The Lakers gonna do this. The Lakers gonna do that. What do they have? They don't have a championship team. You cannot build a championship team around a 40-year-old player. Okay, it's impossible. The problem is your roster as well. You don't have a championship roster. This is why I get so frustrated when y'all tell me LeBron James is still the best player in the world or a top 5 or a top 10 player. Because if you got 2 top 10 players, you are a championship level team. And the Lakers aren't. They haven't been.
But they have a better team. I mean, with LeBron, I think he can be a liability in my opinion. They got AD, with Dalton, Connect. He's there. I mean, they have a team there, that should be able to at least compete better.
Based on narrative. Because we believe that LeBron is this top 5, top 10 player, and he's not. So
when I say compete,
based on
Coach
narrative,
I'm not talking about for a championship. I don't think they're a championship team. I mean, at least in a game, like you should do. We shouldn't see you getting beat by 20 or 30 points per game.
But it happens. Every good team they play, they get blasted. Go look at their record. They only have 2 quality wins, and that was the first 2 wins of the season. They beat Minnesota opening up the season, and they beat the Suns the next day with KD. Every other win that they had, either they're playing the Memphis without Ja Morant, or they playing the Spurs, or they playing the Jazz, or the Pelicans, or some team like that. Any team that played that's decent, they get smacked.
Right.
They get smacked.
Coach Scott, I'll ask you if you agree or disagree, and I want you to respond to the fact that, do you think that the Lakers, first, is JJ Redick attempting to blame the Lakers? I think it's two of us kind of believe that now. And the reason we say that, because JJ's a smart guy. He's so smart, sometimes he looks down on everybody else. But he's a smart guy. And you can hear him subtly saying, hey, well, I can't be on the court. I can't do that. Yeah, JJ. But neither could Darvin Ham, okay? All right? Neither could Darvin Ham when you were minding the game with LeBron James. Darvin Ham couldn't either, so we don't really want to hear that. Do you think JJ is subtly blaming the Lakers, and do you think the Lakers should compete better? I'm not saying for a championship, because I don't think they're a championship team, but do you think they should at least compete a little better in these games and not get beat so bad when they do play a quality team?
So, yes, JJ Redick is subtly throwing his team under the bus. That's what Dukies do. That's what they do. They're very articulate. They're very educated people. That's what the Dukies do, right? He was under one of the most prolific coaches of all time. in Coach K. So he knows a little bit about how to say what he needs to say to jolt the team. Let's keep in mind, he's 24, 23 games into 82-game season. So his plan, his thoughts, his way of making it work, they're only 23 games in. We got to give it time, right? But with that being said, yes, he is kind of offloading some of that steam that he's getting on his team. Now, it's a totally different scenario when you're actually in live action and those bullets are really flying and they're coming in your direction. It's a different game. Now, to Coach J.O.'s point, I don't know how I got pulled into this because my team actually beat the Lakers. The Heat beat the Lakers. Now, as it pertains to getting beat by quote-unquote quality teams, I mean, you're looking at, it's 4 teams that have 11 losses in the Western Conference currently right now, right? Right now. So what are we saying about those teams? This is my problem with Coach J.O. and people like J.O. and these comments that we're about to read in a minute. It is perfectly fine if LeBron James or whomever is not considered the guy or your GOAT. It's perfectly fine. I think it's absolutely absurd that all-time, clearly Mount Rushmore player would not be considered as the great until they leave the game. I think that's absurd, and we can talk about that later. But when we look at a team like the Lakers right now, they're in a really solid position. Again, you got 4 teams with 10 losses. They're at 11 losses. They're going to be fine, I think. I mean, I really think this is something that they can coach through and gel through to be fine. I think the real shakeout is going to be at the All-Star break. But as it pertains to what Coach J.O. was talking about, pulling me into the obscenity, I think that's crazy. Yeah, but he does that, though. I love him.
Well, I can agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah, you can coach your way out, start playing your way out, and playing your way out of these slumps. But at the same time, if you go too far into it mentally, it may be tougher to come out of it. The team will start to adopt the feeling of, we can't beat good teams. We're not that good. And we heard AD earlier in the year state, we come out sometimes looking like a championship squad, and then the next game, we're not. That to me already has some seeds of doubt planted in there. But, JJ, I don't think JJ should. I think he is subtly blaming the team, but I don't think he should. Maybe he should just get up and walk away like he did before. I don't know. It is what it is, But this is what we want to do. The last show we went over, we talked about, the Lakers and LeBron James and is he a liability? What's going on? Now, there was a comment made, which there were a lot of comments in the comment section that we want to read. Maybe it's you we're talking to. All right. But we would like to respond to your comments concerning this subject matter. But LeBron James having a triple-double, and Coach J.O., you said LeBron James could get a triple-double in his sleep. And the response is, well, if that's the case, then don't you think he's still a great player? If that's the case, but there's 2 sides of the ball, I guess we have to talk about. There's a defensive side and there's an offensive side. And the defensive side is the liability side that everybody's looking at. And that's probably why he can get the triple doubles in his sleep. Is that what you were meaning, Coach J.O., really quick? And then we're going to read some comments that was pertaining to this situation, and we're going to see how the viewers feel about it.
Yes, that's definitely what I mean. And there's a little bit more to it, but yes, that's definitely what I mean.
Bye, you got to stop saving me, little bro. You got to stop.
At what?
You got to stop. You got to stop saving. Sometimes you just got to get a whooping and let it be.
I didn't save him. I'm
about to explain myself very soon. I'm about to explain myself very soon. Okay? The comments will be up here, and I'll explain myself as soon as the comment come up.
All right. Well, let's get to the first comment. All right. The first comment, and if I mess your name up, hey, forgive me. From Grammys World 5449 says, as a wise man once asked, Craig, where the hell y'all been? Well, Grammys World, we had some business to take care of. There's a lot going on and had to take a hiatus, unfortunately, but we back. We back. Like who was that? Mace? Welcome back. That song, Welcome Back. Was it Mace? Was it somebody?
Yeah, that was Mace.
That was Mace. Okay, cool. Hey, this next comment comes from Pam Brown 5625. All right, and it states 23, 9, and 8 in year 22. Are y'all serious? The reason they're asking, are we serious? Because we were saying it's time for LeBron James to retire. Are y'all serious? Did y'all tell Kobe or MJ to retire? Both looked worse than Bron, and he's earned the right to do what he pleases. Coach Scott, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that is the epitome of a person who understands the game. And Coach J.O., on the other half, he doesn't. People like Coach J.O. They just don't. This man has earned the right to walk away from the game the way he sees fit. Just like Michael Jordan, he earned the right to walk away from the game the way he saw fit. And if LeBron James decides to play another year, that's his volition, as long as he puts a quality product on the court. Now, as it pertains to him being a defensive liability, et cetera, those things are personal attacks, in my opinion, on LeBron not being the LeBron of 10 years ago. I mean, obviously, clearly he's not that guy. But I think that when it's time to lock down and shut teams out and play consistent basketball and consistent defense, I think he's definitely going to be putting himself in a position.
Well, we're gonna keep our eyes on that one. We'll see if that happens, if he locks him down in year 22 like he's supposed to, or are people right? What about you, Coach J.O.? 23, 9, 8. Are we serious? Should LeBron walk away? Did we question Kobe or Mike?
That's not a fair question. All right, let's just be real. Kobe Bryant in 3 consecutive years, suffered an Achilles rupture, a broken kneecap, and a torn shoulder in 3 consecutive years. He was broke down. Nobody, like Coach Scott, was up here saying Kobe Bryant's the best in the world. Kobe Bryant's still a top 5. Kobe Bryant's still a top 10 player. No one was doing that. We saw the writing on the wall. And even did he. That's why he said it's over. But when it comes to Michael Jordan, a 40-year-old Mike is better than the LeBron we were seeing today. He just is. I don't care what anyone says. But even with that being said, no one was around here saying Michael Jordan was still a top 5, top 10 player, the best in the world either. We knew Mike was Mike. He was an old Mike, but he was still effective. He was an old Mike. LeBron James dominates the ball. He monopolizes the ball. He's able to accumulate stats. Now, I will say this to LeBron James' credit. His mind is still at a superior level. It is.
Well, maybe he should start coaching at that point, because I actually, for one thing, LeBron to be a great coach. That's just my I think he's smart enough to be a coach. I think he knows the game, and that's my thought. I can't be sure, but it's just I believe he would be. But I think Coach J.O. makes a fair point. No one was still saying Kobe is the greatest player in the world, the best player in the league in year 2021 or year 20. No one was saying that at Michael Jordan at the Wizards, but Michael Jordan was still an all-star player, but we knew he was not the best player in the league, and no one claimed for him to be the best player. But when you're still saying I'm the best player ever, and I'm the GOAT, and I'm the greatest, and you're making all these claims, and you're people, you have to answer for what you say. It's just the way it is. You can't get on a microphone, make a speech, and not have anybody question that speech if it's true or not. But the next comment comes from Velta Stick, if I said that correctly. Velta Stick 23. Kyrie is so great until on the team with LeBron. We know he means LeBron, but he says LeBron. Then the narrative turns to him being a minimum player. And it's because we talked about Kyrie being a great player, Coach Scott. And then somebody on the panel says something about Kyrie. I guess that wasn't, quite true, but he was a minimum player. I don't quite remember, but this is what the comment states. What are your thoughts on the comment?
Okay, so I think the person's referencing when I personally said that in the NBA history, Kyrie Irving is in my opinion, top 5 one-on-one isolation basketball, one of the best scorers in the game has ever seen.
That was it.
And I'll die on that hill any day. Anybody you want to bring that's better than Kyrie Irving one-on-one to get a bucket, I want to see your top 5. Please.
Well, Coach Scott, real quick. So now that you remind me, let me bring some context now that I remember to why he stated this comment. So because you said Kyrie is top 5 greatest point guards, one-on-one players ever, the point he's making is, okay, we can all agree on that, but yet when he plays with LeBron, all of a sudden LeBron has no help. He's a minimum player, right? LeBron doesn't have any help. So to say Kyrie is top 5 great in any category, then when he plays with LeBron, then to say LeBron has no help minimizes Kyrie and we make him a minimum player. Thank you. That brought the context back to what the comment was about.
No problem. And I believe that when people say that Kyrie is not a player that helped LeBron James, I don't agree with that narrative. I don't agree with that. But we know that a Kyrie and a LeBron James going up against the Warriors was not enough. It was not enough. We know that. We can see it. We watched the series multiple times. It was not enough. But if that's the narrative that people want to run with, I'll turn it over to them. To him.
Well, Coach Scott, Coach Scott, that narrative there is not quite true. They were actually equally matched across the board statistically. They both came in with the same 12-game winning streak, except for one had one loss and one was undefeated. And but statistically, now if we want to go off of names, then we probably say something. But statistically, they were evenly matched across the board. But that's another story. Coach J.O., what do you think about this comment? Kyrie is great until he plays with LeBron, and then he's a minimum player.
I'm gonna make this quick, right? And because I was kind of confused with his comment as well, and I was gonna say he's crazy, but I understand what he's saying now, right? And it's true. Now, do I believe LeBron James minimized Kyrie as a player, like on the court? No, they were actually really good together on the court, and I feel like their games complemented each other. But this is the point that I've made even in the last show. It's the narrative that minimizes Kyrie. It's the narrative. He has not been able to be appreciated for what he's done in the game because of the narrative of LeBron James. It's literally that hunts Kyrie, the narrative of LeBron James. Because think about this, and Abaya, maybe you can attest to this. Cause I don't know if Coach Scott going to be totally honest about this, but anyway, during that time, the Cavs and the Warriors were having their matchups. There was literally the narrative that Kyrie was the best point guard in the world. That literally was out there. That he's better than Steph Curry. That was out there.
It was.
Especially after he outplayed Steph in the 2016 final, because he did outplay Steph. Clearly outplayed him. So it's not that LeBron minimizes Kyrie's game on the court. It's the narrative of LeBron that minimizes Kyrie.
Can I ask you a question, J.O., on that?
Mm-hmm.
So my question would be, and again, Kyrie is an all-time great. Will, in my opinion, go down as an all-time great point guard, all-time great, get a bucket, one-on-one score. No doubt about it. But I think the thing that people look at in Kyrie's career, taking away all of the other hoopla stuff that does not pertain to the basketball court. When he went to Boston, how did he fare? When he went to the Brooklyn Nets, how did he fare? When he is playing with, he fared without LeBron James. He even self-admittedly said, "Hey man, I have to actually tell LeBron James, man, you know, it's a difference when you have to wear the crown on your own head."
I agree with that. He did say that, and he didn't fare as well without LeBron James, but we can see the same thing in the careers like LeBron James, when he didn't fare as well without good players, or when he even had great players and he didn't fare as well. People like to say, well, what did Jordan do without Pippen? Or what did Pippen do without Jordan? We all know that you need that second punch. Like, it is what it is. The problem is when people try and make it out to be that LeBron had nobody, and he did.
Right.
Like, that's the big problem. He had great players, all-time great players. All right, the next comment comes from, again, if I mess up your names, forgive me. Ija Morris, I think. Stats are very misleading in the NBA. It's an inflated era with no defense and no physicality by Adam Silver's design at his own admittance. Coach J.O., what are your thoughts?
Like Adam Silver did admit that. He literally did. He was on he did an interview with Kevin Garnett. He was like around 1999, 2000. That was literally an emphasis on the game becoming less physical. He said that the game was getting too physical. And these are the name that he used. He said specifically, for example, a Steph Curry. If the game was continuing to be played like it was in the late 90s, early 2000s, that it would take away from his skill set. That's what Adam Silver said. No, those were his words. Okay. And this is my point about when I made on the last show that LeBron James can get a triple-double in his sleep. But one, he doesn't play defense. So he's already going to be in rebounding position. All right. Because he don't play defense. Two, he has the ball in his hand. He has the ball in his hands all the time. So he will accumulate assists as well. Okay. And LeBron James is still at age 40 is good enough to get 10 to 15 points in a game. He just is. And he shoots, 7, 8, 9 threes a game? That's easy.
Yeah.
All of these guys are just allowed to just jack up threes. They just shoot them like with absolutely no flow. They just allow, I'm going to shoot a three. And because the way this is the game is played, no one looks at it like it's crazy.
Right.
I would definitely agree that stats can be inflated, but statements without context can be inflated as well. And I think that one of the things that we're talking about is Adam Silver. We're talking about LeBron James being in the league over 20 plus years. David Stern was the commissioner of the NBA when LeBron James came into the league. So let's be clear with the things that we're saying when we're making these rants. When it's an anti-LeBron James statement, it's always got to be the lesser of the two evils. You got to understand that LeBron James has played through multiple commissioners. He's played through multiple decades of basketball. So in this statement, stats can be inflated, but context supersedes a blanket statement like Mr. Smith just made. That's a blanket statement. That statement holds no prudence. David Stern was the commissioner when LeBron James came into the league. So what Adam Silver has said has nothing to do with 20 years of basketball.
It does, though. He worked hand in hand with David Stern. He worked side by side with David Stern. He literally did.
But was the league different with David Stern?
No, it was, but also.
Okay.
But was this a stat narrative thing in LeBron James' early part of his career? It wasn't this thing about stats. It wasn't. It was not
destroying stats in the earlier part of his career.
Even though he was accumulating stats, that wasn't the narrative of his career. That wasn't the narrative about why he is this or why he is that. Okay,
but that narrative being with Adam Silver has nothing to. You understand, LeBron?
But he worked side by side.
20,000, 30,000 points. That had nothing to do with Adam Silver's changing of the league. LeBron was doing that under David Stern's regime.
He was doing that. The point is that, think about it. That was LeBron James has been playing an entire decade under Adam Silver. An entire decade. That's half of his career, or almost half of his career. Okay? So that he does matter. He does matter.
So Coach J, here's my only retort. And here's the thing that kind of throws me off. We'll see LeBron James and AD score a triple-double, and we'll go crazy because they lose to the Hawks. We'll see Joker score 56 and 18 with 8 assists. We'll see him score almost 60 points in a loss, and the NBA world is silent. That's wrong. That's wrong, and you guys got to stop doing that. People like Ant-Man, who's played their whole career under Adam Silver. People like Ja Morant, who've played their whole career under Adam Silver. What do we say? Do we throw their stats out of the door? Do we throw their stats out of the door? Do we take away from their greatness? No, we don't.
It's not just throwing the stats out of the door. It's bringing context to them. Even with Jokic, even though I still believe Jokic is arguably the best player in the world, do I believe that he's just automatically better than a Hakeem Olajuwon or a Patrick Ewing or those guys? No, I don't just believe that. I think it'd be different if he was playing during that era in the early 90s, mid 90s. It'll just be different for him. He wouldn't be able to accumulate those stats the way that he does now. He just wouldn't.
Well, I do think it's a fair point to say, well, Joker, he scores all these points, he loses, no one says anything. You know, it is also a fair point to say, well, LeBron James played under David Stern as well. But we can see the progression of the defense throughout the years from the 70s to 80s and 90s, getting slower and softer as it goes and turning more into an offensive league. If that does not happen, do we see the type of stats we see today? Do we see teams averaging 30 to 35 three-pointers per game? I was actually watching the clip with two teams running, shoot three-pointer, get a rebound, run, shoot three-pointer, get a rebound, just back and forth for like 2 or 3 minutes with no one driving to the basket. They're simply just shooting the 3-point ball with nothing that's helping them, you know, or no defense, nothing else. But anyway, let's go to the next comment. Anthony Smith 239 says, why does the NBA have to turn the game over to a specific player? Let the game develop by itself. And the reason he's making this comment is because on the last show, we were saying that the NBA doesn't have a player to turn the game over to. There's no new face of the NBA, so they have to ride the back of LeBron James as long as they possibly can. Coach J.O., can you explain further? Answer his question. Why does it have to be to another player?
Because this isn't college basketball. All right. This isn't college basketball where, even though the game, in my opinion, was a bit better when, you know, teams, it was a team thing. People rooted for teams. But even when people rooted for the Lakers or Boston, you had Magic, you had Bird, you had Kareem. All right. You had your Wilts, you had your Jerry Wesses. You understand? You had your Michael Jordans and your Patrick Ewings and your Reggie Millers. Reggie Miller literally, like, nobody, when you think about Indiana, he's literally the only player that you think about from the Indiana Pacers. He's literally the only player that we think about from the Indiana Pacers.
Wait,
in the history
I think about
Indiana
think about Roy Hibbert. I'm just saying, I like Roy Hibbert, but go ahead. You know, maybe I'm awkward. Go ahead, you go.
But this isn't college, though. This isn't college. You need those faces, right? You need to sell merchandise. And it's not that the team merchandise is going to sell. You need those names, okay? Like, it was an honor, and I hope I'm not getting off too far subject, but it was an honor for Kobe Bryant to play every single game because he said he felt a responsibility to the fans to play as many games as possible. He said as long as he could play, he would play. The same for Michael Jordan or the Kevin Garnett's. Even Kevin Garnett's and Paul Pierce is talking about like why these dudes get hurt so much. He said he felt like they get hurt because they don't play enough. So when the playoffs come, they're not ready for that type of intensity because they don't play. And I feel like certain faces, if somebody would say and step up to the plate and say, I'm gonna play these games come hell or high water. I'm gonna take the All-Star game as serious as possible. Then the game will just be better.
Yeah, it is a pretty bad product, Coach Scott. What's your thoughts on the comment?
You know, honestly, I think Coach J.O. makes a hell of a point there. I mean, outside of leave some greats off of there, but I think he makes a great point. This is not college. The game, this is survival of the fittest. These are the greatest players in a specific craft in the world. There's gonna be the best of the best, and this is why, again, you have to morph the game. The game has to morph, and somebody has to set themselves above the rest of the men. This is a men's among boys game, and somebody's gonna rise to the occasion. The most dominant player, the best player, wants to step up. They want to have that moniker. They want to have the greatest across their chest, and the way you do it is step up and take the reins when it's your turn. So I think that, I understand what the comment was, but the game is always going to be taken over by the greats.
Right. And because when the reason we have these faces of the NBA is because of a Magic Johnson or a Larry Bird or a Michael Jordan, who took the game to different levels, and then eventually Jordan taking it global. And so therefore there's a face put there, and they knew once. People have to remember that first time Jordan retired after the first three-peat, the ratings of the NBA almost vanished. They dropped so low, no one was watching the NBA anymore. And then when the ratings came back up was when Jordan came out of retirement, and then his first game in Madison Square Garden, where he scored 55 points, wearing 45, right? The ratings skyrocketed. Okay, so it showed them they had to have a face of the NBA. I remember Anthony Penny Hardaway saying that he thought the NBA was over, right? And they knew from that point forward that they knew from that point forward that we have to have someone to say who to carry the NBA as as the Jerry West logo. This is the man, right? And we have a brand, right? And so therefore you start hearing who's the next Jordan. They started pushing that really hard. The next Jordan. That's why we have this LeBron Jordan comparison. There is no other reason we have this comparison between Jordan and LeBron, because the NBA understands this is a product, $1 billion industry, and we have to have a face. LeBron, in my opinion, shouldn't even be compared to Michael Jordan. They're two different positions. They do two different things. So go ahead, Coach.
Think about this. And I think y'all appreciate this. You remember like how at a time the players had their own character. All right. Magic was Magic. Like that was his character. Michael, Air Jordan, Shaq was the Diesel. Even Dwight Howard, Superman, Vince Carter, Vinsanity. Like everybody, like they had their character, but it was their own character. But everybody is almost like the same today, so nobody can really separate from each other because everybody's the same. Everybody plays the same. Right.
Yeah, that everybody had nicknames because this was the guy who led this team, and that was the era where you saw. Not all the Hall of Famers on one team. Now, that's not saying there were never teams like that, that we could say they were loaded teams. But generally speaking, you had maybe a Hall of Famer or two on each team around the league. So it was a spread out with role players and supporter players around them. So it was a team effort with stars on the team, but more of a team effort. Now it's kind of, you could tell who's going to be in the finals every year. Like you know who's the power of the league each and every year because where all the players are shifting to and going to. And so it makes it less competitive. It makes it more of an offensive game, less of a defensive game, and everybody go out to lunch afterwards. It kind of feels like politics. You know what I mean? So the product is really bad right now. But let's move it forward. This comment comes from Mellow SNY. I'm guessing the NY stands for New York. He says, and I must say, he makes a hell of a point. He says, it's not even a debate. LeBron hasn't dominated his own era, and the decision alone takes him out of any GOAT debates. Kobe was beating the teams LeBron couldn't beat. Dwight Howard 1-0 versus LeBron. Dirk 1-0 versus LeBron. Duncan 2-1 versus LeBron. Even beat the Heat super team at 38 years old. Kawhi 1-1 versus LeBron. Curry 3-1 versus LeBron. KD 2-1 versus LeBron. Joker 2-1 versus LeBron. How did he dominate? Question mark. Just stats? Question mark. Shaking my head. This year, LeBron is over 80 turnovers so far. And at the time that he wrote this comment, he says LeBron is 0 for 24 from the three and is a complete liability on the defensive end of the ball. He hurts his team more than he helps. That's a fact. No GOAT in any sport has a losing finals record. GOATs are known for winning, not stats. A hell of a point. Coach Scott, starting with you. What are your thoughts on that comment?
Again, I think statements without context is just kind of convoluted. First and foremost, I think he makes some good points, but what we got to look at is totality. This is basketball. This is not polo. This is not water sports. This is basketball. Other people have formidable teammates as well. You're talking about KD, and they were on teams that were great. A 38-year-old Tim Duncan was on a great team. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, he was on a great team. when you talk about LeBron James and the maturation of his career, you're talking about this man has played the greats in an era where he's done it from the first year through his 21st year. He's not ducking competition. He's not sidestepping competition. He's going through the role that he has to go through to be where he needs to be. Now,
Coach
if
Scott,
you want to say you don't look at LeBron James as a GOAT, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. But here's what I'm saying. Who do you put up there? Who is it? Who dominated the era? Don't give me no Steph Curry. Don't give me Steph Curry, because if Steph Curry can't beat LeBron James one-on-one, don't give me that game. Don't give me that.
But Coach Scott, I have a question. I have a question,
KD?
Coach Scott. Hold on, Coach Scott. Hold on. There's a couple things you just said. Now, the one-on-one thing shouldn't even be a question, because this ain't a one-on-one game, especially according to LeBron. So even he says that. But here's my question to that statement you just made. You said LeBron. Hold on. You said LeBron played a great team in the Spurs. He went against them, but the Spurs went against him. Like, he had no one else on his. This is what LeBron fans. This is what you guys be doing, right? You guys forget. Hold on. Let me finish my statement. You guys forget. Yes, he played a Tim Duncan. He played a Manu Ginobili, who could compare to nobody on that Heat's team. Manu wasn't better than Bosh. Manu wasn't better than Wade. Manu wasn't better than LeBron. All right, you had Parker. Parker wasn't better than any of those players. So, but they played. I'm gonna tell you why they couldn't beat the Spurs, and what you said was why it was wrong. One, they couldn't beat the Spurs because Spurs played basically Euroball. They played team ball. They played make the extra 5 passes, and you don't know where the ball's going, and they get open shots. They played team smart basketball, all right, or smart team basketball, right? And when it comes down to the Heat, for example, that great team they had assembled, that LeBron James on Minding the Game tried to minimize as if he didn't have that much help, which that blew my mind. When it comes down to that, LeBron wasn't by himself. LeBron had people always talk about, and I give it, LeBron has faced more in the finals, more Hall of Famers than Michael Jordan. I'll give you that. That's a fact. We can't debate that. But here's another fact. He's also played with more Hall of Famers than Jordan. So we talk about the 3 or 4 Hall of Famers that LeBron faces, but we always fail to talk about the 3 or 4 Hall of Famers that he played with on the team while he faced those 3 or 4 Hall of Famers. That's what blows my mind. But before you respond, Coach Scott, I'm going to let Coach J.O. respond and then come right back to you before you go to the next comment.
And the part that he's skipping over, he literally said there's no GOAT who has a losing championship record. You didn't address that, Coach Scott. There's no other GOAT. I don't care in what sport. They don't have a losing championship record. Who? Give me a name so I can know.
Does it matter that you were getting sandblasted and not even making it? Does that even matter? This is what you in that comment. This is what you guys are failing to look at when you're talking about the totality of a statement or a situation.
What do you mean? Like you're painting a picture that LeBron didn't play with anyone. You're painting the picture like, oh, he just went into these finals handicapped. That's not true. It's not true.
Just like Abaya immediately went to when LeBron was playing the Spurs with Miami, he totally negated that he played that same younger Spurs team when he was with Cleveland by himself.
That was not the same Spurs team. That was not the same team.
And I did say by himself. By himself.
But that wasn't the same Spurs team that you're in Miami. That wasn't the same Spurs team.
You're talking about the core of that team, Manu, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan. When he played those guys in Cleveland, the core of that team was still the same.
7 years later. That was 7 years earlier, I meant. 7 years earlier.
Didn't I just say a younger Spurs team, Coach?
But it's not the same team. That's not the same team. It's not the same team. It's not. You think a 30-year-old Tim Duncan and a 31-year-old Tim Duncan are the same players? No. It's not.
Okay.
We're not.
So listen, So listen, here's what we're doing. The Spurs team was actually an older team when they played and destroyed Miami Heat team, which was a younger, more athletic and better team. People love to say, well, Dwayne Wade was washed up. And again, this is why we were at the first comment when they say they minimize Kyrie. They minimize Dwayne Wade. Because mind you, remember the 2011 finals? Who was the leading scorer? Who led the team? It wasn't LeBron James. It was literally Dwayne Wade. You can look it up. Look it up. Look it up.
You know what are we talking about
No,
now?
I'm making a point here. I'm finna make a point. My point is this. We continue to minimize and completely erase from history the players that LeBron played along with. In order to make him the GOAT, we say LeBron played all of these Hall of Famers. He played more than Michael Jordan. Yes, he did. But he played with way more than Michael Jordan, Hall of Fame wise. The most people can point to is Pippen and Rodman. And some even bring in Kukoc, right? Oh, he had those Hall of Famers. Okay, great, beautiful. Now, let's line them up side by side. They don't compare to the long list that LeBron played with. And Coach J, let me ask you a question. Let's use football, for example. I'm asking you a question. There's a holding on the offense, and on the very same play, there's a pass interference on the defense. What happens to those penalties?
They get the null and void. They offset.
They're offset, correct. Coach Scott made a statement about, well, we talk about Jordan, how great he is, but what about when he gets beat early? We don't never say anything about those years, but he won late. Okay, let's say those offset. But wouldn't that be the same thing for LeBron James, who you talk about winning with nobody, but he lost a lot with everybody, though. He lost a lot with a lot of Hall of Fame. Hold on. That's a fact. We can statistically and historically prove this. Even with the Hall of Fame players on his team, he lost. So when we say, well, he won with nobody, well, he lost with everybody. That should offset like the offensive pass and defensive pass interference and the offensive holding. They should offset. And I'll give it for both sides. So what it does, it takes both players back to ground zero. Now let's look at it from there. Last thing I want to put out here. And I'm really trying to bring some context to the conversation. I just want to throw out some numbers because we said this earlier, the 2017 NBA Finals. Let's look and see. And I'm landing my plane after this, fellas. I give you my word. Let's look and see how lopsided these games really were. Both teams came in 12-0 or 12-1. The Warriors, Steph Curry averaged 26, 8, and 9. All right. Kyrie averaged 29, 4, and 4. Klay Thompson, 16, 5, and 2. Kevin Love, 16, 11, and 2. Draymond, 11, 10, and 5. JR, 11, 2. All right. And both of their benches were averaging 22 points per game. This was an evenly matched series. Now, we could talk about the names, who had bigger names. Okay, cool. But who played? How did they play that's all that matters. Because if I could have Jimbo Stevens playing against Michael Jordan, Jordan dropped 40, but Jimbo Stevens dropped 42. Do we say it don't matter because his name ain't Jordan? No, both players played great. And that's what happened during that time. We got to stop forgetting history when it comes to LeBron James. But I digress. Anyone of you got anything to say on this last comment? Because he did say something about those finals records. That is a big one.
That's on Coach Scott.
I've said all I can say. I respect the
There's nothing to say.
Say it again.
Yeah, I said it.
There's nothing to say.
Nothing to say. Okay. Nothing to say.
All right. Well, listen. I mean, there's always something to say. All right. But we got to end what we're saying right there. We're actually way over time. Hey, guys, thank you for the comments. Keep commenting. And we want to make this a regular practice. We definitely want to interact as much as we can with the viewers. Great comments, great points made in the comments. And listen, we're not here to minimize LeBron James at all. We just want the truth. Like, let's not minimize all the other greats just to make LeBron great. LeBron doesn't need your help to be great. LeBron was great when he came in the league. He's great during his career. He's going to be great when he leaves the league. He don't need your help to make him become the GOAT. Let's let it happen naturally if that's what's going to happen. All right? And same thing with Jordan fans. Because I'll admit, some of us are starting to get just as bad as the LeBron fans. Jordan don't need your help. He was great when he came in the league. He was great during his career. He was great when he left. Let it be. Let's sit back, watch the game as the game's supposed to be watched as fans, and let's take it from there. With that being said, make sure you follow us on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and definitely subscribe and follow us here on YouTube so you can catch every show every time we publish an episode. With that, we'll catch you guys next time. We are out.
Let's go. Even though I killed the ghost, there's still room to debate. And every sport is on the clock, who being labeled the grade. If you hungry for the smoke, then come and get you a plate. We just evaluate the game and we don't deal with the hate. Come tune into the show, cause we about to get into it.
Every sport has a goal,
but now it's time to prove it. Barbershop vibe saying what other shows couldn't. With a buyer Coach Scott, yeah, it's gonna be a good one. This ain't for the faint of heart. Tiger, Jordan, Messi or Babe Ruth, Brady, Serena, and Ali catch phase 2. Get your facts ready and no Wikipedia, cause ain't no off season, he don't go debate media.